start in the first, then got into some trouble in the fourth. It seemed like they had him in a lot of long counts. Is that just a testament of how good he is to be able to still get through 6 with his pitch count up?
Yeah, I think he threw 50 pitches in the last 2 innings that he pitched. So, he found a way to get out of those innings. They put some really long, tough at-bats. Even it was almost 45 pitches for the last 4 outs that he got. They put some, as I said, but he never let up, and he kept going at him and going at him, and they were fouling pitches off, and ended up getting the big outs he needed to get.
You use Betances, you use Warren, you use Robertson, obviously big pieces of your bullpen. You're in a stretch where you're playing 17 in a row. How difficult is it for you to kind of manage your bullpen over this stretch?
Well, I mean, it's no different than what it's been. So you just do the best you can, and you check with the guys, see how they are every day. You try not to overuse them. Sometimes, I'm going to make judgments on my own based on what I think, they need. Because sometimes, people try to play hero, and we don't want that because we don't want to miss them for a period of time, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because they end up on the DL. So, today they all had yesterday off, and I knew I had them all today, and I used them.
What did you think of that catch in the 8th by Ichiro?
Oh, very good. Obviously a big play in that game. And then you get another big play by Tex in the 9th. That's a big play as well.
Joe,
I think he was at 105 when you took him out. Was it because of how tough those last 2 innings were that you didn't even want to try to give him a piece of the 7th?
We felt fatigue had set in. It was time to get him out.
who else? Right here in the middle.
Over the last week, Tanaka has basically just kind of deflected anytime anyone says, are you the ace of this staff? In your opinion, given what you saw today, is he the ace of this staff right now?
Well, he's the most experienced, and I know that, you know, if it comes to service time, you're not going to say that, but, I mean, what he's done in Japan and what he's been able to do here, he stepped up for us and kind of assumed that role. You know, that ace status, I mean, what's it mean? You know, for me, it's the most important pitcher is the pitcher pitching that day. So that's the guy you want to be the ace that day. But he's definitely stepped up and done a tremendous job for us.
Mark?
Joe, we've seen him have outings where the line may have looked better in 9-inning shutout type games, but given the opponent, given the 4-game losing streak, is this maybe as big a game as he's pitched for you guys?
I think so. And how hard they made him work, I definitely think so. Especially after giving up a homer in the second hitter of the game and being able to shut them down. I thought it was a gritty performance on his part. They're tough outs, and they make you work. You know, you look at Nuno, I think he was at 4 2/3 and 95 pitches last night. And so, I mean, it's a big win. It's, you know, I think you could say it's maybe his biggest performance for us.
Dave?
Joe, with the offense the way it is and the slim margins in these games, how tense is it for you? Just, you know, you're grinding out these victories. They're one-run victories. Seems like all you can.
It's part of my job. You know, I've done it as a player. I've done it as a manager. It's just you do your best to make the right decisions and put guys in a position to be successful, and you go from there.
Andrew?
How did you think Carlos looked?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to judge him on one day. I didn't see him favor anything, which is really good for me to see. You know, that first time they come back, you want to see, you know, they let it go, and I felt he let it go, so that was a good sign to me.
All the way in the back.
Joe, given the struggles on the homestand and then with the 10-game road trip coming up, what does this win mean today as you get ready to head out there?
Well, I think it's important to try to build on it. And you know, Kansas City, obviously, they have very good pitching out there, and there's some dangerous hitters in their lineup. And but I think it's a really important win before we go out on the road. We've played pretty well on the road, and hopefully that can continue because we got a long road trip.
Tyler?
Joe, when you've lost a few games and your rotation is a little bit uneven right now, how reassuring is it to pretty much always know what you're going to get from Tanaka every 5 days?
Oh, it's nice. I think there's an expectation that when he goes out there, he's going to give you a distance. He's going to shut down the other club and give you a really good chance to win. So that's nice.
Joel?
Joe, was the reflection of the heavy pitch count that Tanaka didn't have his ace stuff to put them away, or just that they are really good at dragging at bats long?
I think they're good at grinding at bats out, Joel. I think that's what they do.
Dan, Greg.
Given what the bullpen has been through the last 4 games before this, how important was it for them to protect that lead?
Well, it's important for our club. You know, I told you I didn't have doubt that these guys would bounce back. I really didn't. And I think you saw Betances and you saw Warren bounce back. And Warren got in a little bit of trouble and then got 3 huge outs for us. So, but I think it was important for our club, and I think it's important for them as well. Because you don't want to let another one get away. And it's not like we're giving them a huge margin of error. But I thought they did a great job again.
Greg.
Joe, in that same vein, you expressed your confidence the other day in Robertson, but you know, how tense is that for him with the runner getting a third for the last out?
I mean, he's been through it. I mean, he's, you know, as I've said, this kid's been in bases loaded situations where I brought him in with nobody out, and he's found a way to get through it. So it's not necessarily abnormal. But it seems like all of our saves lately have been one-run saves, which you don't have a lot of room for error, and it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Dave?
Joe, you may have answered this before, but why Betances before Warren?
Well, that's how we've done it. You know, the 7th and the 8th, and it's worked really well. So I've kept it at that. You know, the other day I didn't do it because there were Betances I needed for 1 out in the 7th, and you know, my thought is, if I can save Warren that day because he's already up and not have to use them, and you know, both of them had kind of a heavy workload, I give one a day off, and that's why I stayed with it. But that's been our combination for, I don't know, really since Sean Kelly's went out. So I stayed. You know, I'm going to stay with it.
Anybody? Roger.
Joe, in your eyes, how significant is it that Soriano gets a run-scoring single to get out of that funk?
Yeah, well, I think it was important. I thought his bats were pretty good today. You know, and I've said, you know, most of his struggles have been off of right-handers, not the left-handers, and that's why, you know, I ran him out there again today. He's had good at-bats against left-handers, so he'll continue to play against left-handers, and we'll get him going.